And welcome to God's Hookups television show. This is Dr. Barbara Young, your host, and this is a show that features up close and personal interviews with guests from all walks of life who share their stories about unexplainable blessings, successful events, and extraordinary miracles and encounters that can only be of God's hookup. You will receive hope, enlightenment, encouragement that will feed your spirit and your soul. Now, to my guest today. Hello there, Dr. Richard K.
Hello, how are you, dear?
I am fantastic. I am so happy. That's a beautiful background you have.
Thank you.
I mean, I see, the sea or lake. Wonderful.
It's an original oil painting, and it is a lake somewhere. I have no idea where.
It is.
I know it's on my wall.
Well, I want to welcome you to the show. And for my viewers out there, he is an international speaker. He's a master connector, and I can tell you that he is. He is a business acceleration strategist, and he's been working with CEO Space as a faculty member and helping the founder of that organization for 22 years. He's a former chiropractor, and chiropractic was his life, his identity, his passion, and serving members of his practice was his highest passion. When one day. So, Richard, tell us about that one day. I love it.
Barbara, life happens. I hadn't meditated, prayed, whatever it was for a long time. I got up one Sunday morning and decided it was time. So I'm sitting in the back of an area meditating. I'm in silence and I hear, change your office hours, Monday, Thursday, 11 to 1. There was nobody there. Well, I went to the office and I put up a sign, new office hours, which a lot of people were upset by that because it was starting Monday. It began the next week. The following week, Barbara, I'm sitting there, same place, very quietly meditating, and I hear, which can only be a God message, retire from chiropractic and work with CEO Space America. And in my silence, I asked, was last week a test? And the answer was yes. 3 weeks later, I shut down 30 years. As you say, it was my life. It was my passion. It was my way of serving. Well, what's happened is I just shut it down. And as I reflect on it, it's craziness. I took a year off. I retired. That was San Diego. I moved. I now live in Taos, New Mexico. I already owned 80 acres. Came out here, took a year off, and realized I can't retire. There's a reason I was told to work with CEO Space America. That reason is to be in service to people now in their business life, in addition to their personal life. So that's the wonderful message. That's it. Goodbye.
No, but I mean, it's really one of the things that fascinated me about your story was one, very few people hear the audible. You didn't hear like some inner, which God can speak to us through, I call our intuition,
Right.
Our spirit, which to me is the intuition. But you actually heard an audible voice.
That particular episode was yes, it was audible. And I never shared another story with you. Many, many years ago, decades ago, I'm driving and I had my Porsche and I'm in front of a pickup truck carrying HVAC, heating, ventilating, and air conditioning ductwork. And I had this vision. I saw a piece of ductwork fly off the truck, bounce on the hood of the car. I saw my car careen off the side of the road. I said, well, that's interesting. About 10 seconds later, Barbara, I see exactly, it's like hitting replay on the movie. I said, okay, there's something here. I changed lanes, pulled up next to the truck. I looked in the rearview mirror, and you know exactly what I saw. I saw that piece of aluminum fly off. Had I been behind that truck, I would have had an accident. And it's like, thank you, God. I'd forgotten about. I didn't share that story with you before. So yes, sometimes it's auditory, sometimes it's visual, and sometimes it's just knowing. Have you ever had that experience, Barbara? It wasn't words, it wasn't a voice. You just know.
No. I did have the experience of, and I, frankly share this. I'm driving down the freeway, and all of a sudden, this voice says, "Take your foot off the accelerator and slow down." Because I was driving fast. Take your foot off the accelerator, and I did. And why? Because there was a truck stopped in the middle of the freeway. Had I not, and it was foggy, I would have run right into. And I remember. And so the point that I always tell people, when you hear that voice, you need to listen.
Yes.
Have gone beyond the point where, I said, he can sometimes yell at you too. Yes. But very interesting. So tell me this. Did you know anything about CEO Space America? Did you know something about it?
I did. I had already been to my first program, and so I knew what the company was.
Uh-huh.
And quite frankly, I was a famous chiropractor in San Diego. And what that means, this is not to impress anyone as a listener, but to impress upon you where I was. 6:30 News, a morning television talk show for about a year, multiple stories with color pictures in the San Diego Tribune and the Los Angeles Times. And I heard about this organization, and I had to get out of my own way. I just didn't realize it was the same thing. I didn't want to go because I had all this stuff. And I was directed to go there. And Barbara, within 9 months over my first program, my practice doubled. And I believe, and I have to tell you, I never looked at it as through this lens, that because I listened, I was given those messages to shut the practice and work with entrepreneurs to help them grow. And I'll tell you, this is the first time I put that together. So yes, I knew of the organization.
But it's interesting how he knows too. And
a little bit bigger.
but sometimes he has a plan for you, and he knows exactly the next steps. Yes. But what I marvel about you is that you were saying, I was going to church every Sunday, I was on my knees, I was praying to God all the time. Here you are, you're sort of, lukewarm here, but you knew him. When did you first realize that you knew God, that you knew of him, or when did you make his acquaintance?
Wow.
Because he evidently knew you.
Decades ago. Yes. Decades ago. And I don't remember a specific incident. It was just an awareness and a knowingness. A friend of mine one day was telling a story that she was meditating, and she was thanking God for choosing her. And she heard a voice, Barbara, as clearly as I can hear you now, is the way she described it. And that voice said, honey, I choose everybody. It's only some people who choose to listen. And we all get those messages. We all get them, no matter who we are, no matter where we practice, no matter where we live. Do we listen to them? And, you've had some experiences that you listen. I believe we all listen, and some of us don't even know. We make decisions because we have a sense. What is that sense? There's not an original thought in the universe. It's all happened before. I believe it was Einstein who said that man had to create time, otherwise everything would happen all at once. So all we do is plug into that cosmic consciousness, that God consciousness, and be aware of it.
Yes. So how was it when you went to CEO Space? Of course, Dorman had already created this organization, and you guys became, I guess, great friends. Was there a bonding that sort of naturally occurred?
I'm laughing because I think everything's naturally occurring. Sometimes we're even aware of it. I was invited to a talk that he gave in San Diego. There may have been 50, 70, 100 people. I have no idea. It was 22 years ago. And at the end of the talk, I was fortunate to sit down with Bernie Dorman. And Bernie Dorman was a brilliant man. He was an economist, investment banker. He had a firm the size of Smith Barney, and that was his life.
Yes.
His father was diagnosed and ultimately died of cancer. He sold that firm and started this business, which we now know as CEO Space America, so that he could serve entrepreneurs. So at the end, he died on July 9th, and my closest friend. So it was kind of a stretch here. At the end of the meeting, I was fortunate to sit down and have a private meeting with him. And I looked at him and I said, Bernie, I felt you gave that whole talk to me. And he looked at me, he said, I did, Richard. And neither of us knew the journey that would take us on, to both collectively help entrepreneurs and travel the world and help people. CEO Space has a presence in 150 countries, Barbara.
Wow.
He was an agent of change. So yeah, we never know when we meet somebody for the first time or the 10th time or where that journey may take us. And it's been a fascinating journey working with entrepreneurs.
It's a fascinating journey of life.
Yes.
That we're on.
Yes.
And how we don't know where it's going to lead, what directions. But the thing is, and I've had so many people, on the show to talk about various God's hookups. But I can tell you, Richard, you're the first so far to talk about hearing that audible voice. And when I met you, and of course we related on a business professional level,
Right.
So I had no idea that you'd had an encounter where you actually heard him speak, not once audibly, but twice. And just
twice that I'm aware of. God knows how many, but how many other times?
But can you imagine? Change your office hours, I mean, wow. And you did it. You didn't question it. Why am I changing my office hours? You did it.
The message was so clear, so coherent, Barbara. And again, I turned around to see, maybe someone was telling me, but it was the
person. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. It was just there. And I had a wonderful career, awards and all that stuff, which all those certificates are in a cardboard box in the garage now, because they were then, and what is next is so exciting. And I haven't a clue what's next. That's the exciting part of life.
It is exciting. On the flip side, though, I like to ask, what were one of your biggest challenges, in this walk? What hurdles? Because, when we walk with him, it's not like an easy road. There are going to be challenges. There are going to be obstacles. And I know many people out there saying, oh, yeah, he's heard the voice. But it's challenging, and there are obstacles and setbacks because you do have an enemy that wants to block your success. So
Right.
what do you think was your biggest hurdle in the beginning, and how did you work through that?
Wow, great question, Barbara. The obstacle was trust. To get out of here and get out of the intellectualization and know that there is something greater, there is something bigger. One of my all-time, I have a few, but one of my all-time favorite quotations is when Mother Teresa said, I know God will never give me anything I can't handle.
Love it.
I just wish he didn't trust me so much. Okay. So we have these challenges, we have these tasks, and we have a choice. We are always at free will. I could have ignored the first message, never would have gotten the second message. Maybe would not have gotten it. We have a choice to use our challenges as an anchor that holds us. And we know these people, Barbara. These are the people who are victimized. I was in a car accident. My parents divorced. My mother was an alcoholic. And it's a story they go through life with. Or we can use that as fuel to drive us forward. I just got off the phone, with a young lady who is a real live gypsy. She said it's still legal almost a couple of years ago they could kill her tribe legally in Europe. Well, she's now living in this country. And 14 years ago, she was told to go home and die. Now, she could have accepted that. The doctor told her that. Instead, she went home and started doing research on things that were alternative to the medical model. And now that's what she teaches. That's what she works with people. She's on the cusp of buying a 700-acre ranch to help particularly women heal, and to help children who have escaped from the sex trade, which is all over the news these days.
Yeah.
She could have used her history as, oh, poor me, I'm a victim. They're killing my tribe. Instead, she came to this country and said, that stuff doesn't serve anybody. I'm going to work with healing people. So to answer the core question, it's trust, and trust in a higher power, and trust that there is more than we can ever imagine.
Well, I think one of the biggest things to trust God, and I've talked to many people about this, and when I talked about challenge, God told you to shut down your practice.
Yes.
And you did it. What if he told you, shut it down, sell it, and take $100,000 and give it to this organization? You see, when it comes to the money, the reality of the personal possessions, that's what I'm trying to get. Because we live in such a materialistic, capitalistic society that when it comes to like the money issue, and for you, it was a money issue as well, because you're shutting down a 20 plus year practice. And I'm sure you're doing quite well. It was your passion, it was your mission. But in a sense, did that impact you financially, in the sense that you had to like think about it? I'm shutting down a practice. What am I going to do?
Wow.
Money. I mean, the reason why I'm saying that, because I think so many people are held back when God says, give. I've had that test. Give everything, and give it to this particular person, or give it to this particular entity, or nonprofit. That's just a question, rhetorical, really.
As a curious question, years ago, my son said, Dad, don't give me these rhetorical questions because we don't know. I don't know how I would have responded. Yes, the income came to an end, and it wasn't selling it. I just shut it. I didn't have time to sell. I just shut it.
Yeah.
And Barbara, I don't know how I would have responded. I can't even go there. It wasn't a presentation. It wasn't a command or an ask. So I don't know.
But you did, Richard, because if you're thriving in a business, and that's what I wanted the viewers to understand. Here you are, you've got a thriving chiropractic business. This is your soul. This is your life. And then God says, shut it down. And when you shut down, I don't know how much savings you might have had, and we don't need to go into that, but you shut down, and now it's go work at CEO space.
Yeah, the income is gone 3 weeks later. So yes, it came to a halt. And I'm loving this because I've never had the introspective. No one's ever asked me this. It was just, okay, if this is what I'm supposed to do, there's a higher order here. And now, through CEO Space America, I serve many more people than a few people in the office at a time. When we have conferences, when we used to do physical, and now we're getting back ultimately to doing real ones, but not yet, we're serving many, many more people. It's leveraging. And in chiropractic, the work that I did was not headache and back pain, Barbara. It was improving quality of life.
Right.
Bridging the gap between where you are and where your soul wants you to be. And now I can serve many more people at the same time. So it's leveraging what we can do to help people thrive. So
I'm really just admiring you, and to have this story for the listeners, because we've had, many people, I've went through drugs, I went through, so I had the accident, that left me paralyzed. But this is a different kind of a story where people today who are anxious, who are going through challenging times. We have this pandemic that's, it's ever increasing. It doesn't seem to be going away. So I know that people need to tune in and listen to what God is saying. Tune in to the Spirit to hear what he's trying to tell you and show you a pathway to a better life.
Yeah. Barbara, that's great. I would just add one more thing.
Add it.
Get out of your own way. The truth is, if I had challenged that message and asked why, it's like, when you're playing at that vibration at a God level, there is no why, there just is. So what I invite you to do is exactly what Barbara's saying. Know what's real, listen, and know in your soul what is reality. Our mind will get in the way of everything we do. How many times have you been walking up the street, and as Barbara said, she heard, take your foot off the gas? How many times have you knew you had to make a turn that way, and instead you went that way, and later you found that there was an accident or a mugging or something happened that way? Your mind was saying, no, I'm supposed to go that way. God says, pay attention. And that's the bottom line, is pay attention. Get out of here. Not even your heart. It's your soul. Your soul has that connection. You're not here to fulfill your potential. You are here to exceed your potential. And this old saying that if you do what you've always done, you're going to get what you've always gotten. Not anymore. If you do what you've always done, you have a potential, particularly during this crazy pandemic, to crash and burn. You've got to do different thinking. As Zig Ziglar used to say, that old stuff is thinking. Great, Barbara. Thank you. Wonderful questions. You're awesome.
Thank you for being on the show today. I mean, it was so inspiring. And as I said, not many people have really heard the audible voice of God, and more importantly, obeyed the audible voice of God.
Yeah.
So I want to say to all of my listeners out there and viewers, because some of you may be listening, some of you may be viewing, please share this show with your friends, because God's Hookups is a show to enlighten, to encourage you, to give you hope, to let you know there is a God, there is a creator, and he is hooking up people every day in many miraculous ways. So again, I want to thank my guest, Dr. Richard K., for being on the show today. Richard, you have been a delight. And thank you so much for sharing. Learned a lot today too, didn't you? A little bit more than you thought.
Yeah. So it's just listening. It's just listening.
It was great. And I am so excited that you had the time. And Taos, New Mexico is supposed to be one of the most beautiful places. And so I'm really, really excited that you were able to be on the show. Maybe I'll get over there. Are you still working on backs? Because maybe I can get, no, I'm just teasing.
I'm retired from that. Those were my orders.
I'm teasing. But keep working with CEO Space. And I know you're doing a terrific job of doing that. And to all of my viewers out there, we're waving goodbye.